There is a black hole so large, it could swallow our entire solar system whole and never even notice. It holds the mass of 66 billion suns. Light itself, the fastest thing in the universe, would need weeks just to cross it once. It's called TON 618. And by the laws of physics, it should not be able to exist. By the end of this video, you'll understand why it terrifies even the scientists who study it. To understand what this monster really is, you first have to understand what a black hole actually is. When a giant star runs out of fuel, its core collapses under its own gravity, crushing itself smaller and smaller into a single point of infinite density. Around that point forms a boundary called the event horizon, an invisible line where gravity becomes so strong that nothing, not even light, can ever escape. Cross it, and you are gone from our universe forever. Most black holes are only a few kilometers across. TON 618 is something else entirely. And here is what makes it even eerier. We have actually been looking at TON 618 for a very long time without realizing what it was. Back in 1957, astronomers cataloged it as nothing more than a faint blue dot in the sky, just another dim, ordinary star. It sat quietly in our records for years. It was only later, as our telescopes improved, that the truth slowly emerged. That faint little dot was not a star at all. It was one of the most monstrous objects ever discovered, and it had been staring back at us the entire time. TON 618 belongs to a class of objects called supermassive black holes. To give you a sense of scale, our own galaxy, the Milky Way, has one at its center too. It's called Sagittarius, a star, and it holds about 4 million times the mass of our Sun. That already sounds impossible to picture, but TON 618 is roughly 15,000 times heavier than that. 66 billion suns, crushed into a single object. But how do you even measure the mass of something you cannot see? You can't exactly put a black hole on a scale, so instead, astronomers study the light screaming out of the superheated gas swirling around it. The faster that gas is whipped around, the more powerful the gravity gripping it must be, and the gas around TON 618 is moving at staggering speeds, thousands of kilometers every single second. By measuring that violent motion and working backwards, scientists arrived at a number so large, they had to check it again. 66 billion times the mass of our Sun. Now picture what that mass actually looks like. The event horizon of TON 618, just the point of no return, is more than 40 times wider than the entire orbit of Neptune. You could take our Sun and line up millions of them, side by side, and still not stretch across it. This is not a star. This is not a planet. This is a hole in the fabric of reality itself, the size of an entire solar system, and it is completely, perfectly black. To really feel it, imagine that TON 618 replaced our Sun. Its edge wouldn't stop at Earth. It wouldn't stop at Mars, at Jupiter, or even at distant Pluto. Our entire planetary system, every world you have ever heard of, would already be deep inside it, swallowed, erased. And here is what should truly unsettle you. Anything that crosses that edge doesn't just get destroyed, it vanishes from our universe completely, as if it had never existed at all. But its size is not even the most terrifying thing about it, because TON 618 is not sitting quietly in the dark. It is feeding. As gas, dust, stars, and entire worlds spiral toward it, they are torn apart and superheated to millions of degrees, forming a violently glowing disk of doomed matter. And this makes TON 618 something even stranger than a black hole. It makes it a quasar, the blazing core of a feeding giant, and one of the brightest objects in the entire universe. And it doesn't just glow. Feeding giants like this can blast colossal jets of energy from their poles. Beams of superheated particles fired across space at nearly the speed of light, stretching for thousands of light years. Picture a searchlight, the size of a galaxy, powered by the death of everything unlucky enough to fall in. It shines with the light of roughly 100 trillion suns, outshining every single star in the Milky Way, combined. It is so bright that we can see it clearly from over 10 billion light-years away, and that distance hides something haunting. The light reaching your eyes from TON 618 left it 10 billion years ago, long before the Earth, the Sun, or you ever existed. So we are not seeing it as it is now. We are staring into the deep past, at a monster from the young universe, with no idea what it has grown into since. And that brings us to the question that keeps astronomers awake at night. How did it get so big? Black holes are supposed to grow slowly, feeding over billions and billions of years, but TON 618 was already a fully grown giant, when the universe itself was still young. There simply was not enough time for it to reach this size the normal way. It is as if it broke the rules of its own creation. Some scientists now believe monsters like this may have formed directly from the collapse of gigantic clouds of gas in the early universe, skipping the star stage entirely. Others admit we still don't truly understand it, and recently our most powerful telescopes have begun finding even more of these impossible giants in the young cosmos, black holes that, by every model we have, simply should not be there. The truth is, TON 618 is a mystery we have not solved. So what would actually happen if you fell in? As you fell toward it, something impossible would happen to time itself. To anyone watching you from a safe distance, you would appear to slow down until you froze at the very edge, glowing, stretched, and hanging there, seemingly forever. You would never quite appear to fall in. But from your point of view, there would be no such mercy. You would plunge toward the darkness in an instant. And as you fell, the gravity pulling on your feet would be so much stronger than the gravity pulling on your head that you would be stretched thinner and thinner into a single long strand of atoms. Scientists have a strangely gentle name for this violent death. They call it spaghettification. And a monster this size does not sit still. TON 618 is almost certainly spinning. And a spinning black hole does something that sounds like science fiction. It drags space itself around with it. Surrounding it lies a region called the ergosphere, where the fabric of space is twisted so violently that nothing can stay still. Not you, not light, nothing. Everything is dragged along with the black hole's spin, whether it wants to be or not. Reality doesn't simply end at TON 618. It begins to bend, long before you ever reach the edge. And beyond that edge, at the very heart of it all, waits the singularity, a single point where gravity becomes infinite, where space and time end, and where every law of physics we know simply stops working. No one knows what truly lies inside, because nothing has ever come back to tell us. But here is a strange kind of comfort. Even monsters like this do not last forever. Black holes very, very slowly leak their energy away, evaporating over spans of time we can barely comprehend. And the bigger the black hole, the slower it fades. TON 618 is so massive that it would take a number of years with 100 zeros after it to finally disappear. It will outlive the stars. It will outlive the galaxies. Long after the last light in the universe has gone out, TON 618 will still be there, alone, in the dark. And here is a thought that should keep you up at night. For years, TON 618 held the record as the most massive black hole we had ever found, but it may not be alone at the very top. Some astronomers point to another possible giant, a black hole known as Phoenix A, which certain estimates suggest could be even larger, perhaps 100 billion times the mass of the Sun. Those measurements are still uncertain, but it hints at something chilling. The largest monsters in the universe may still be out there, hidden in the dark, waiting to be found. So, should you be afraid of TON 618? Honestly, no. It sits 10 billion light years away, far too distant to ever harm us. But that safety comes with a humbling truth. This black hole has been devouring the universe since before the Earth even existed, and it will keep going long after our sun is burned out. Next to all of this, our entire world, and everyone who has ever lived on it, is smaller than a single grain of sand. A black hole the size of a solar system, 66 billion suns, crushed into a single point, so bright we can see it across the entire universe, yet so dark that nothing escapes it. Remember how we began, that by the laws of physics, TON 618 shouldn't exist, and yet it does, right now, silently swallowing everything around it, and we still cannot fully explain how. The universe is stranger and far more terrifying than we could ever imagine. If this changed the way you see the night sky, subscribe. Every week, we uncover another one of the universe's darkest secrets. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what scares you more? The sheer size of TON 618, or the fact that we still don't know how it was born? I'll see you in the next one.